Boom has been around for now
13 years.
13 years now.
Yeah.
And
Look
so
at that.
what a lot of comic book companies like come in and they're small little comic book publishers, and I know you thrive yourself on looking at those little publishers and seeing what they do and what they're not doing.
Absolutely.
Can you give me some examples of what you've learned along the way from other comic book little publishers, or like what can you think? Because I know you said earlier marketing is you have to do two things. You have to look and do the in the box stuff,
Yep.
where you go back and you go and you say, okay, we have to hit the press releases, we have to hit the sites that are hitting them, we
Yep.
have to go talk to the retailers, we have to do all that stuff that's in the box.
Yep.
But then there's also that out of the box things that some companies are like, I'm going to try this and this is out there, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't.
Right.
What kind of like resonated with you with something like that?
Well, like one of the things I've been looking at, I'm gonna make sure that my wife is okay. One of the things I've been looking at is the publisher like Vault, I think, is doing a great job of design.
Mm-hmm.
And when you look at their books, you can see that they're thinking about design. Now, that's exciting to me because I love innovation in the space, and I think they've innovated a design concept. So that's a good example to me of, keeping your eye out. I think a lot of image books now that's more creator by creator basis, but they think holistically. This goes back to what Hickman did when he showed up at Image, about sort of like where the credits go and how do you enter the book, and sort of like how is all of that processed. The latest Joe Casey book I was looking at had an inside front cover and a first page, and the title of the book is like MCXXMLG. It's Roman numerals, so I don't know how to pronounce that, or I can't even count in Roman. So, but hopefully everybody knows what I'm talking about. But when you open up that book, like that, there's a 2-page spread, inside front cover to first page, and it's the credits page. It's designed really well. It looks really cool. It's a very exciting way to start to read a comic. So it's just, I'm constantly trying to read what's coming out, looking at what's next.
And what's working and what's not working.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting because people forget that comic books is a visual medium.
Yep.
And we communicate through the pictures, through the design, the lettering, everything.
Lettering is so important. If I could talk to young publishers, you have to be ruthless about lettering.
Yeah.
You've got to really think about it. If it's a place where you're looking where you can save some money, you're thinking about it wrong. It's a place where you need to, like, if I want to say spend money, but I want to be careful about that kind of mentality too. But you have to be ruthless about quality.
Yeah, you have to be. I think there's one of the things where you're like, oh, I can letter it myself. They want to charge me $15, and you don't realize it. But the professional letterers, they not only know exactly what fonts to choose, how to place the balloons, and what they're going to look like, but it creates this sense of this comic is professional. When you're going out and you're creating a comic yourself and you're doing the circles by hand and they don't look right, and you're lettering them by hand, it's people are like, what does this say? I can't read it, and you lose readers that way because people are like, and
they don't know why. They put the book down and they don't know why. They're like, I like sort of the subject matter and this art's really cool, but I don't want to read this. And the answer is it's because of the lettering. It's almost kind of like in a movie where like when the music works, you don't really think about it, right? Because it draws you in. But if the music doesn't work, it's jarring and painful, and you're sitting in that theater and you just want to leave.
It's true. It's a really collaborative process in comics, and it's so funny how even the smallest detail can actually make one of the biggest differences.
Huge difference, yeah.
And it's crazy to think that's just...
Colors are like that too.
Yeah.
Colors can make and break a project. There's a complete dimensionality to colors.
And it's very interesting because colors can be so many different ways. You can do muted colors, you can do very bright, vibrant colors, and you can do them in different ways. And if you give the same project to 10 different colors, you're going to get 10 different color samples.
That's right.
And you can say, this is what I'm looking for, give them an example, but you'll still get something that's a little bit different from every single one. So it's something that's super important, and it can help establish the theme of a book just by a few pages of it.
Huge.
If you're using, purples and greens, it's going to be a darker book. You might be in a horror book or something like that. And if you're using kind of bright colors, you're like, oh, this may be a superhero book. This is the traditional looking kind of, bright colors.
And there's choices that you can make within it. Like one of the things when I started with Zombie Tales, doing an anthology book, you could go in and sort of cast against time. So you could get a traditional superhero artist to draw it, like we did. Ron Lim drew some of Keith Giffen's stories in Zombie Tales. And then I took the colorist and had more of an indie style on Ron Lim's more familiar kind of superhero drawing. Now that could be a car wreck, but I was lucky I was able to like figure out how to make it more muted and sort of more horrific in its execution. And I think that created a dimensionality to the work.
Yeah.
So, but you just got to think about it. You got to strategize. You got to figure out what are you doing. You got to be willing to make mistakes. I think that's the big key. You need to be able to experiment and be safe in a place where you can make mistakes and it doesn't bring the ship down.
Absolutely. It's making calculated risks, but taking risks, because without risks, it's impossible to grow.
That's right.